With the prologue done, we can begin our journey into the game's chapter 1. Right as the map starts, we immediately get access to one of the main EXP and gold resources in this game, the arena. Unlike other Fire Emblem games, dying in the arena doesn't actually kill your units, and instead, your units just get their HP set to 1. We immediately decide to hit the arena up and get ourselves a few extra levels before leaving the home castle, and Arden manages to climb pretty far up in the gauntlet, but I decide to play it safe and end his arena run a few rounds early. And I do the same with Quan. I then go on to do Lex's arena, right after buying him a steel axe. And he manages to last exactly one singular arena round before he decides to miss 383% and dies on the second arena round. And thus, we've already lost one of our 3 tanks to BS RNG. We decide to follow up with Ethlin's arena, and we almost lose on round 3 due to some shaky RNG. But don't worry, because immediately after this, I get too overconfident with the fact that I gave her a silver sword, and proceed to lose round 4. Noish is up next and doesn't even make it past round 3, after missing one singular 72%. But, I mean, I already hate this man, so it's whatever. With the initial arena attempts out the way, I have successfully accomplished the feat of blowing half of my army at 1 HP, before having actually moved a single unit. We spend our first turn trying to recover from our losses in the arena, by taking it slow and letting Arden and Quan lead the way. And during the enemy phase, Jomka decides to betray his whole family, as he ruins his brother's wedding for the sake of some random priest girl he met 5 minutes ago. And so now, Aideen and Du are both free, and are actively getting chased by a legion of angry groomsmen. With the initial wave of enemies right on our doorstep, and our army still recovering, Quan and Arden are the only ones healthy enough to face the bandits. And with Quan's previously stated disadvantage over axe users, Arden is forced to face the bulk of Verdane's army. Alone.
Enemy spotted.
I'm going to kill you, and then kill you again.
'Tis but a scratch.
Light work, no reaction. Light work, no reaction. Light work, no reaction.
This is how you eat a Big Mac.
And so, the only 2 starring characters we can actually use are Arden, an armor knight with bad movement in a game with huge maps, whose only skill is Vantage.
悔いのない一生だった。
Ain't no way I'm gonna die. I'm strong and you're toast.
This is some kind of twisted joke.
And just like that, we lose our shield to a 25% hit. I was genuinely considering resetting over here, but then I read Arden's death quote for the first time. Lord Sigurd, my life was yours. I don't regret a thing. And then I realized that dying here is actually a mercy to Arden if you consider how the rest of the story plays. Yes, he may be the funny bad armor unit, but in the end, he's actually a fairly tragic character in his own way, even if he's objectively a joke character that Kaga knew no one was going to use. Therefore, I decided that it's for the best that we just let Arden rest for a while. With the time bought with Arden's blood, the rest of our army has been healed up and can mount a counterattack against the remaining bandits. Ethlin stood guard in our home castle, whilst the rest of our army remained close by. Although we did our best in successfully neutralizing a majority of the enemies close to our castle, Kinbaith, aka the man who murdered Arden in cold blood, begins to retreat so that he can gather reinforcements from Genoa Castle, and quite frankly, we just don't have the manpower to give chase. And thus, Arden remains unavenged for the time being. Du and Aideen continue sprinting for their lives, whilst bringing forth even more bandits for us to deal with, and as they do, they come face to face with Kinbaith. But since the guy doesn't want any smoke from the Du himself, he just runs past the very easily killable Aideen, and continues straight onwards to the castle instead. If we did try and theoretically engage him here, his leadership stars would have boosted the nearby bandits, and it would have made them an even bigger headache than they currently are. So it's for the best that we don't pursue him for now. We form a wall between two forest tiles to help us engage the enemy bandit horde which followed Du and Aideen. And then, on the player phase, we kill and canto backwards to make yet another wall, but this time between a forest and a thicket. This retreating wall formation helps us keep our healers safe and our exposure to the enemy minimal, meaning we can avoid another one of our units getting jumped and cornered, like with what happened with Arden. Compared to Kinbaith's forces, which had leadership stars, the current batch of bandits are pretty much just scrubs which gave us little to no trouble. Ethlin manages to style on one of them using a lover's grip, and then proceeds to get a blank level. Absolute cinema. Du steals some money off a bandit, and then gives it to Ethlin, so that we can maximize his access to EXP, and we dispose of the remaining enemies with relative ease. But just as we breathe easy, Kinbaith reappears with reinforcements, and our situation goes from a 1 to an 11 pretty quickly. Now usually I wouldn't worry too much about an Axe Bandit mini-boss from Chapter 1, but with Arden gone, who is our primary tank, and our only sword user being Noish, who's been notoriously useless throughout this playthrough, we don't really have a good sword user outside of Ethlin, who's busy being our healer. Quan ventures outwards a bit to get some good early damage in, as the rest of our army gets in formation. Ethlin once again plants herself atop our home base, due to her above average avoid and sword advantage, and Aideen, who is our only available healer, goes to hide in a bush along with Du. Kinbaith leads the assault himself, and goes up against Quan, who's equipped with a javelin, and then, this happens. That's right, the Spirit of Arden intervened and allowed Quan to dodge an 82% and then counter with an adept proc, leaving Kinbaith within only an inch of his life. And then, following this excellent stroke of luck, we finally managed to get revenge for Arden. Now despite this early boss kill, our job isn't over yet, as the rest of our enemy still exists, and can gang up on our very heavily outnumbered army. We have to rely on Kanto to stop our units from getting overwhelmed, and Ethlin holds down the fort once again. Cleanup procedure carries on nicely, as even Noish contributes, as he procs charge and nicely sets up a kill for Lex. And then, with the enemies cleared and Arden's soul allowed to be at peace, we can once again resume our attempt at taking over the first enemy castle, which you'll have to wait for another week, because I need to milk this run for all it's worth. I hope you guys enjoyed watching, and I'll see you later.